What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to the Punk Rock Review. Hanging out with Rob, talking a little bit of Rancid. I know this is a band we rarely cover on this channel, but we thought they deserved a little attention. As it just happens to be, oddly enough, today is literally the 22nd anniversary for Indestructible.
hmm
So we're not really talking about that record much, but I did want to just speak on it a little bit. I feel like it deserves a couple minutes of our time. It's a record that I think really brought Rancid back to Rancid, kind of, and I think
hmm
that it was the album after the one of the ones that we're talking about today. I just think it's really interesting that popped off. I didn't realize it till this morning. I have a bunch of little alarms set for like do lots of albums. I have to, so it reminds me to put shorts up and things,
Yeah.
And yeah, man, that album really helped me a lot when it came out, and it's got some of my favorite Rancid songs on it. 22 years, man. It feels insane to say that Rancid Indestructible is 22 years old.
That's still the new Rancid album to me. Like that will Indestructible will always kind of be the new Rancid album in a lot of ways because it just for me like that was I caught on probably on the album cycle we're going to talk about in a little bit. That's where I discovered Rancid, but this was the first one that I caught on with the release with all of that, had all the shirts, and all that. This the whole thing, and I can't believe that was 22 years ago. That's wild to me, and it does for me represent the second half of their legacy career starts, I think, with Indestructible, even though it wasn't like a nostalgia album or anything like that, but it was like it was a return to form somewhat sonically. But we've talked about this, like there's this like the people who like their first memory of punk rock is like American Idiot, like that's like their sort of like origin story. A lot of them know we've talked about the songs from Indestructible because it was also kind of like in that same time period. And I never appreciated how much that album was boosted, I think, through like its appearances on MTV, having Kelly Osbourne and the Madden Twins in the video, like those little things that people all complained about at the time. I think all those little things kind of added up to being an album that was pretty visible, and then it's a pretty quality album too. I always put it fairly high every time I rank albums by Rancid, and I think it's because a little bit of its sentimental value for me because of when it came out. But I think on it's really good songwriting, and it's a bit of a concept album with some of the themes that they were going through at the time. It's one of their albums that I think is really like a snapshot of time, more so than a lot of their other albums. Like that album is Rancid in 2003, more than even these other albums we're going to talk about that are dated by their specific year.
Yeah, I think that I look at Rancid as having two lifespans as well, and I really do think it starts with self-titled albums. It goes 93 all the way through Life Won't Wait, and then it's like reset 2000, and then you get basically the same kind of trajectory. It's like, and some people would argue that it starts with this album. I think that's what you were saying, is that it starts with this album as their second lifespan, but
Yeah,
it's all in the same time frame, really. It's a little 3-year group of years where it's like, okay, it either started here or here, but it definitely started at one of those. So I don't think that you're necessarily wrong about that either. I think that this is more of like a rebirth of the band and their sound. They went back to being unabashedly fans of songs like fans of bands like The Clash and different sounds, and they went back to putting an eclectic mix of sounds in their album, whereas 2000, we'll get to that in a few minutes, like it's a straightforward record. There's not a lot of variance within sonic sounds on the record.
No, and I remember when the album came out, we're talking about the New Life. I remember there being so much like quote unquote drama about its release. I remember hearing about the album the year before, thinking it was going to come out, and then Tim gets divorced, Lars's brother dies, they have all these other things that happen. They kind of sort of, but not really signed to Warner, but like all that stuff sort of happens in that like 2-year period. And then I think that's why everything fit though with the title and the themes of it. Because from what I remember, I think a lot of songs for that album were written a few times, and that album went under a lot of construction because of everything that was going on in the personal lives of the band members.
I mean, as far as I know, and again, I wasn't there, so I don't know factually, but I think I'm correct with this. I think a lot of the songs, like you said, were rewritten. The way I understood it or understand it is that the album was basically finished. And I don't know that it was even still called Indestructible. I don't think it even had the same cover art. And then they were getting ready to like ramp up production on it, wrap it up, get it in the manufacturing part of all this. Lars loses a brother. Tim loses a relationship. These are big, big things in your life. And I think we would have gotten a much lesser album had those two men not had to suffer so much. I would rather have the lesser album and have them not have to go through that You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But since they did go through that, and we do have this album, I can tell you it's important to me too. And it's got a lot of songs on it that I think are timeless. It holds weight, man. It doesn't really. It's a timeless album, man. Like, look, dude. Music videos are where you can date albums. You can watch a music video and go, "Oh man!" But if you just listen to the record, there's albums that are timeless, dude. There's albums from the Eagles. I hate that band, but there's songs that they're just popular all the time. Kiss has albums that are just popular. Metallica, popular. Nirvana, popular. Rancid, Indestructible. It's just so the thing is though is that there's a division within the punk community. There's people that like Subtitle 93, Let's Go, and then 2000, and they don't really like anything else by Rancid. Then there's people that like Out Come the Wolves, Indestructible, maybe even like Dominoes, and that's all they really know. That's all they really like. And then there's people like you and I who basically like their entire catalog with some high points in there, and then some of our favorite records being a few of their better albums according to us, right? So there's within these different groups. So I do remember one thing I'll say before we get started talking about the other two records is that I remember the first time I heard this. I distinctly remember being incredibly excited. I hadn't heard the single or anything. I'm in Houston, man. They don't play stuff on the radio. I didn't watch MTV, so I didn't even know there was a music video until way later. When it came out, I didn't know there was a video because I didn't watch MTV. I remember getting it and looking at the cover and being like, this feels more like Out Come the Wolves to me. And I know everybody goes, yeah, they just tried to remake Out Come the Wolves. I don't agree with that. But I do think that they did what they did on Out Come the Wolves. They walked in there and they just wrote the best record they could. And I remember playing it, and the first song is the title track. And I know it just starts off really fast. And I remember being like, oh, this sounds like what I wanted it to sound like the production. When I say sounds, I'm talking about the songwriting. We're going to get into this later, man. It sounded like a Rancid album. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. And I was at this time where I'm already listening to the Transplants. I think Lars and the Bastard stuff's already out. I needed this album to sound like this, dude. I needed it real bad. And it made my whole summer. Like, it made my whole year. Rancid albums. Friday is the 30th anniversary of Out Come the Wolves. Like, I don't know if you knew that or not.
Yeah, August is a huge month for them. Like,
huge month. They do a lot of summer releases.
Yeah.
So, Friday I'm going to probably do. I mean, after this, I might do a stream and just listen to the whole album. Why not? Right? I got the time. This is what I do now. So, but yeah, Indestructible I think is a pretty important record for a lot of reasons. But it brought them back to form. I think it glued them back together. They went through the fire so that they could strengthen themselves. Or that they didn't do it on to their own intent. They got a situation in front of them. They had to go through it, but they did go through it. They did make their way through the flames, man. And I think that it's hard to do. It makes for better people.
It's amazing they're still around and going strong.
Bro,
I remember at the time thinking with all the narrative around the album, well, this is gonna be the last thing they ever release, right? Like that. It sounded like with all the turmoil, like that was probably it. They were finally getting a little bit older, and that's what it was going to be. And here we are, 22 years later, and you just had an album come out 2 years ago that was as good as anything they've ever put out.
I still listen to Tomorrow Never Comes like pretty regularly. Like that album's actually holding up, and I'm really happy because I was incredibly high on it when it dropped. I was saying it was my second favorite, which that is tempered. I'm calming down now. I'm chilling. Let's Go has made its way back up my rankings to where it's probably like 2 or 3 for me.
Let's Go had a rough summer with us that year. Let's Go had a rough summer with you and I for some reason, and it's redeemed itself a lot in my eyes.
Yes, I feel like a jerk for it. I had to apologize to Let's Go a few times by getting a big tattoo on my noggin. All right, before we talk about 93, this does have something to do with Tim Armstrong, so I'm going to say it. Anybody out there, go watch the movie Freaky Tales. I saw the little picture and I was like, Pedro Pascal. So I put it on my watch list and I never watched it. And then Ryan from Liberty and Justice was like, bro, have you seen this movie? And I was like, no. And he's like, just go watch it and then do a video on it for me, please. And I was like, he doesn't ask me to do stuff like that. That's got to mean something. Do you want me to tell you what happens at the beginning of this movie, Rob? If you don't want me to, I won't.
No, I can do this.
Okay, so just go. No. It's all good. I'll just say it like this then. That's why I asked. Go watch the movie, guys. The reason I say it has something to do with Tim is because he's got like a tiny little cameo in it somewhere. Like, but there's. I cannot wait to talk to you about this, Rob. I can't wait, bro.
Like this is my assignment more so than any music.
Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. It is. Oh man. As a matter of fact, what was I had an idea for something for next week, and I freaking forgot it. I'll talk about it later. It's all right. We'll figure it out when the time comes. Okay, let's talk about Rancid, and then we'll talk about Rancid later. So let me pull up the good old Wikipedia here. I can't remember exactly what date. Oh yeah, May 10th. May 10th, 1993, we get Rancid's first LP titled Rancid. I wasn't around for this when it came out, obviously. I didn't discover punk rock until 1996. No, 95. But I started going to shows in 96. So I didn't know about this album until it was already out a couple years. As a matter of fact, I probably had Out Come the Wolves and Let's Go for a solid year before I got this album. You know, when you were younger, at least for me and you, I think, because we're a certain age, when I bought an album, it was a while before I bought another album.
Mm-hmm. Like, it was a long time before you had $20 again.
Not only that, but I didn't get tired of listening to my albums. Bands didn't do it like they do it now, man. You got like a band put a record out. That was a big deal for the band, the label, and the fans. Mm-hmm. Now it's like you just throw something out there and you hope it's good, right? Or you can put out a lot more stuff, and if it's not as good, like the ratio of like high quality stuff has shrunk a little bit, in my opinion, right?
Yeah, and it feels like the genres somehow knew like what their competition was going to be, and you wouldn't get like big stuff on the same day. Usually the stuff would be kind of spread. Now you'll just get a whole Friday drop of all kinds of stuff I know I want to listen to, but like who actually has the time? And next Friday there'll be a whole nother drop of those things.
I do this for a job, and it's hard for me to keep up, man. I don't know how anybody else that doesn't do this all the time has the time. Dude, there's a day like a few months ago where Beton Arme claimed Choice, and then the following Friday was another band, and it was like 2 weeks. I had 3 full-length albums that I desperately needed to hear. Oh, Puffer. It was Puffer, Beton Arme, and Claim Choice, all within like a 8-day period. And these are like bands I genuinely love. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so stressed out, because that's just in addition to all the other stuff. So this record came out. I wasn't into punk yet. I've only seen and heard and read a little bit about like what this was like, but I wish I could go back and see. Can you imagine like the debut LP from the dudes from Op Ivy? Like what that was like, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and I don't know this for a fact, but I think they wanted to kind of set themselves apart from Operation Ivy, because this sounds literally like the other end of the spectrum. It's super heavy and dialed in on the bass. Tim is yelling more so than he's doing melodic singing, and there is no ska stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So it's about as different as you can get within, staying within punk rock for these two guys. And so it came out in the late spring of 93. It's the only record that has just a trio of people involved on the album. Lars, to my understanding, didn't have nothing to do with the album so much as he did maybe some backup vocals, and then went on tour with them. I don't know if that's exactly true.
They honored him on the album sleeve because he joined right before like the album was like pressed. I don't think he contributed anything to, but they just sort of acknowledged him as, thanking him for like being around and being a member of the band. As far as I know, he was not. It was right around this period where they like through the recording of this album where they kind of realized they wanted a second guitarist and really needed one. But yeah, he doesn't actually have an official contribution to the album.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I thought I'd heard somewhere where he did some backing vocals, but if that's not true, then that actually makes more sense to me. Mm-hmm. Something that somebody said, actually, it might have been on Wikipedia that I read this. Said that there's 3 Rancid self-titled releases, and I never thought about that. But that first EP is just called mm-hmm. Rancid. That's very frustrating. For somebody like me who likes to organize things, that drives me bananas, dude.
These two have always frustrated me. Just the fact that these two albums have that self-titled thing has always just driven me nuts. Because sometimes you end up in a conversation with people and you're talking about a different album. That's happened with this. I cause always like 2000, 93. Sometimes self-titled is 2000 and 93 is just 93, or I don't know. But like
it is very strange. Let's see here. Oh, this was also one of the 3 records out of their 10 that wasn't produced by Brett. There was also Out Come the Wolves, which I think is so strange that wasn't produced by him. And then Life Won't Wait, which doesn't sound like it was produced by him. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to see there are 3 records that he didn't have nothing to do with. They're all so vastly different. Like, I don't know. It's interesting to me.
And it's funny because he loved, he loves Rancid. Like that's everyone always say that's
Yeah.
Brett's favorite band. And it is funny, like early in this formative stage, that he's a little bit more of just like a label guy and that kind of thing at this point.
Well, he wanted them to change their band name. He was like, "I'll put it out, but I don't like the band name." And Tim was like, "What? That's a punk rock name." Which I've always liked the name, and I never understood as a youngster like why people were like bothered by it. But as an adult, I think about it. I'm like, okay, I guess if I know what the word means, it is kind of a gross name.
I got sent home from school one day for my Rancid shirt because we couldn't wear like skull imagery and stuff. I went to religious school, and then so I remember the teacher telling me, "Rancid, that's what you want to be, and that's what you want to become." And then I remember getting sent home, and then like my uncle, who was just kind of hanging around, he's like, "Well, why are you home?" I was like, "Oh, I got suspended for wearing this shirt." And then he was like, "Well, don't you guys want people to like your guys' music? Why are you calling it Rancid? Like something that's..." And I was like, I couldn't explain. I couldn't justify myself at 14 years old there to explain exactly what it all meant.
I had an incredibly similar experience with the name of the band. My mom was like, "What does this mean?" And she's like, "Why do you want to listen to this? It's called Rancid. Do you know what Rancid means?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, that's why I like it." Back then I was like a skater kid, and I wanted to like, I had a mohawk and I wanted to just piss everybody off. So that name irked people. And I feel like that's kind of what Tim was going for. He was still really young when they started playing.
It's very punk rock, the name, more so than like a metal band that would be like Destruction of Satan or something like that. It's a little more cliche. Like Rancid, that's a real like word that people use to describe you, to like bad milk and stuff like that. I think that's why it resonates in the way it does.
Dude, they should have had a single come out that was called Bad Milk, and on the front cover was just this jug of milk, but in like that Tim Armstrong high contrast artwork style, where it's just like you could smell it through the photo. You're like, oh, or like a scratch a stiff snicker that you're like, oh, see if you can puke. Blah. Send us pictures of your barf all over our.
Whenever Tim finally gets a signature line of cologne, that'll be the smell.
Oh, I'm gonna throw up thinking about that, dude. Dude, like warm, hot, expired milk is probably the nastiest,
the grossest thing. Yeah.
Oh, it's so gross. Yeah, dude. This record is one that when I first got my hands on it, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't love it. I was so used to Let's Go and Out Come the Wolves that even Let's Go was a little bit. I was 14, man. I wanted it to be catchy and poppy. That's why the songs that I like on this album, you can tell, like, oh, you were definitely a later Rancid fan. No, I wasn't around when they came out. So 92, dude, I wasn't around for self-titled EP, bro. I was a little kid. I was 10. I wish I was, man. But yeah, dude, the album is raw. But I'll say this, dude. People always talk about how raw it is. And I'm like, yeah, it's raw, but it's still produced really well.
I don't think the songwriting is that raw. Like it's not what they would become later. And there's a lack of like the fun kind of songs that are usually there's usually like 2 or 3 really fun Rancid songs on each album, and there's not as many on this thing. But I think like in terms of like the bass songs they were writing and the chemistry that Tim and Matt had, it still kind of qualifies as that classic Rancid feel to it. It's just not quite. It's just their first album. Like that. The only penalty. Well, there's 2 penalties. It doesn't have one of their key members making a lot of contributions,
right?
And it's their first album, so they're just lesser evolved and less. Just don't quite have all of that yet. I think that reputation of it being so raw and so intense and so hardcore is a little. I think people conflate that sometimes with what the sound of 2000 is. But also, I think it's because it doesn't have ska or necessarily those catchier poppy tunes. People sort of write it off as this really intense record, where I think you and I have talked about it shares a lot with like Let's Go and the most recent album, and those kind of it's still very much in a Rancid register. It's just one kind of element of Rancid, and it doesn't have those other things that really can make them very interesting.
Well, it's funny. I hadn't listened to this in a little while. Like it's been a little bit since I've sat down and like really just listened to this with nothing else going on, like no driving, no talking to the kids, just listening to the words and typing some notes. It's been a little while since I've done that. There's a lot more in common with this record and Let's Go than I remembered. It's more like the mix on this is way different than Let's Go. Let's Go has got obviously large influence on there, but like the mix is way different.
Right, and
that makes sense.
No, it does. It absolutely does. And because I think Let's Go sort of sounds like if you count like modern punk rock, it started in like 1994 of that sort of like mass produced, pretty good sounding punk rock. Let's Go kind of has that sheen to it. And this still sounds a little 80s, a little bit like, even though I think it was recorded very professionally, it still wasn't to the full heights of what the punk rockers kind of figured out in the mid 90s of how to make the albums.
Yeah. And the lack of experience, they'd only, Tim and them had done a few things, but I mean, they had done tons. They'd done Downfall and Operation Ivy, to my understanding. There might have been what's that other one? Is it Basic Radio or something like that? Or is that Basic Radio?
Or was that before Rancid?
I can't remember. But anyways, he hadn't done a ton of stuff before they got to this. So, there's just also a little bit of just, engineering ignorance there. It's not his fault. It's just lack of experience is the best way to put it.
I also think we sometimes misremember what Let's Go actually sounds like, because like there's the sentiment of those few favorite songs, and like my mind, I always kind of categorize it with an Outcome to Wolves. But if you want to pair albums, Let's Go pairs much more with this album.
That's a good point.
You can do like Wolves and Life Won't Wait, or Wolves and Indestructible more as like as component albums or compatriot. I think this is a lot like we were saying before, a lot like Let's Go, and Let's Go sounds a lot like this when you strip down the songs.
I'll say it like this: like, yes, I agree with that, but there's also like this really smooth gradient that you can go from black to gray to white with those three records. They all three sound like each other. Like this one and Let's Go sound a lot alike, but Let's Go and Outcome to Wolves also sounds a lot alike. But this one sounds nothing like Outcome to Wolves. So it's like, it's just like, Let's Go is really the connection between the two.
That was three albums in 3 years too, right? Like now that I'm thinking about it, 93, 94, 95. Yeah.
Bangers, dude.
And every one of them has like 1,000 songs on them. That's wild.
And for the most part, every song is pretty high quality. I mean, out of all three records, there's only like 2 songs that I don't actively listen to, and I don't think there's any that I actually skip. Like that's the thing. Do you skip a song? That's how you can tell. Let's talk about the songs individually for a minute. Where do you start really liking this album? Is it right off the bat?
So I think the opening songs are really good, but then I kind of go to Rats in the Hallway as the first one that really kind of gets my attention. But the opening 2 songs I think are very, very good. And again, like that, like when you hear the opening of Adina and Hyena, that's like classic Rancid. You have those Matt Freeman intros. You have all that going on. That sounds like 90s, like old school Rancid immediately when you hear those 2 songs.
Right. I agree. I will say though that I start off, Adina is like a good, let me get ready to sit down and listen to this album type song. Like it's a good song. I don't dislike it at all, but Hyena really starts kicking your butt really quick. I love that song. That's a really, really, really good song on this album. I do want to say, man, the song called Detroit, that's probably my favorite Matt Freeman vocals in Rancid is on that song. The hook in Detroit, he sings better than he ever has, in my opinion, because I think he's like out of his head in it, and he's just singing with some melody, and he's not trying to sing like a punk rock song. He's just singing.
He's not doing that Matt Freeman voice like that. Yeah.
Right. But it's still got some of that in there because that's just his voice, but but he's got, I don't know how to describe it. I feel like he might've just been in there trying to make it sound as good as he possibly could, and he nailed it. It's just, again, it's subjective. So some of the people might disagree. But I love the hook on that song, man. It's so good, bro.
It is. And this song and the first 3 songs, and I want to say like half of the album, Matt has most of the choruses, I think, on this album. The verses he doesn't.
No, dude, it's weird. People misremember this, and they misremember 2000. They always say, I like Matt Freeman. That's why I like those 2 albums. Dude, Matt Freeman sings lead on 1, 2, 3 songs on 93. I think he has the chorus on another 2 or 3. So he's got a chunk of work on there vocally, but he doesn't sing a ton on that album. I was actually
I think it's mostly in the choruses, because I have it written down.
He sings lead in 3 songs.
First 3 songs that Matt has the chorus.
Yeah, but he doesn't do the whole chorus by himself either, though. Tim does
a lot of
it too.
And that's the thing. A lot of it's call and response, and even Detroit has a little bit of that.
It's just crazy because people always reference like Matt Freeman's the reason why I like these, and I'm like, dude, he doesn't sing as much as you think he does. Like, it's a fair bit, I guess, but and on 2000, it's way less than people remember because it's hardly in there.
It feels more than the other albums, but part of that also
because Lars isn't there
is because you don't have Lars.
Yeah,
that is
weird.
That is a big part of it. It's also like it's funny, like Detroit has the bit. So on the first two songs, when they're singing, they're kind of singing together. It kind of makes sense. Detroit is the first, I think, contrast of the
Right.
two on the album, because you have the chorus, the I got a good feeling about a bad city tonight. And then it's the first real chorus where Tim does like the big elongated storytelling where he's fitting in a bunch of words like in between. That's the first
Good
song I
point.
think that really hits that balance really well. I do think of these two albums as the Matt Freeman albums, though, both in terms of the vocals that he contributes to a lot of them, and then I think his bass play, which is always prominent in Rancid, but it's like really front and center, I think, on these two albums.
That's a good point. I would agree with that. I think that they're both like, maybe that's what they're talking about, not necessarily the vocals, but I hear his vocals referred to a lot as what people are enjoying, which is whatever. I mean, I've never been a Matt Freeman vocal guy. I like Lars's vocals and Tim's vocals the best, but like I think Devil's Brigade is a really great band, and I think that Matt Freeman did exceptional with the vocals on that. But I think that's the reason why this one stood out to me a little bit. Yeah. Hyena, I'm trying to think of like his vocals. They both sang at the same time on some of that stuff. So he's represented quite a bit on this album. This is definitely a hit where he has the most to do, I think. I even wrote down on here lots of Let's Go energy in this album, just missing some of the Lars stuff, which, it's interesting. I think one of the reasons why I was so perplexed by the lack of Lars being there at all is because on my notes I actually wrote, man, Tim was tearing up the guitar leads on this album. It sounds like Lars though, but I think Tim just writes more of it than I thought. So when Lars is playing it, maybe he didn't necessarily write it. Do you think? I don't know if that's how they do it.
That's interesting because there's a lot of that like 1950s kind of rock and roll guitar, like the stuff you're always talking about. There's a lot of that on this album.
Yes.
And I generally think of Lars as the better guitar player between the two of them, and more of like the guitar. I think of Lars as the guitar player with Rancid, and maybe that's just because of the bias of seeing them live and how they go about it. But I think definitely the style comes from like it's Tim's style of guitar playing on this style that they pick up, and I think their guitar sound just got a lot better when you had two of them, and they're but it's stylistically, yeah, I associate the style as like a signature sound of Lars.
Dude,
you are 100% right. It's on this album.
Wild, man. But I will tell anybody that ever questions Tim Armstrong's ability as a songwriter or player to go back and listen to this album, especially knowing that Lars isn't even on it at all. Like, I mean, I knew he wasn't like a writer of the songs or anything like that, but I thought maybe it had something to do with it. But if you're saying he came along when it was already in like actual physical production, that answers a lot of questions, man. That tells you right there how good I mean, dude, go look at his accolades, man. Tim Armstrong is no chump, dude. He's I think he's the greatest songwriter in punk rock, personally. Again, feel about that how you want. I would expect some people to disagree with that. It is a subjective thought, but yeah, man, he was killing the guitar on this album, man. That song, Another Night, dude, go back and listen to that song. There's a song on Let's Go that sounds exactly like that. That song sounds like it was on Let's Go. I wish I could have had the time to go back and find that song because I just didn't have the time. But I will probably, if somebody's watching this, tell me what song it is that Another Night sounds like off of Let's Go. It's probably just a real similar riff, but I heard it and I rewound it twice, and I was like, dude, this sounds like Let's Go. If it had different production, you could have fooled me and told me it was off that album. And then we have, let's see.
Animosities.
Yeah, that song, I feel like you can compare that one with Black Hawk Down.
So like 15-year-old me, that was my favorite song from this album. I always loved the song Animosity. Yeah. Specifically, I always thought that it said everybody who sells cocaine knows how to fight, but I looked it up recently. My brother selling cocaine knows how to fight. And I have my note for this song. Makes me want to be in a pit. Like this song just sort of has that.
Yes, that's a good circle pit song. So I wrote down, I literally wrote down, you could compare songs like Animosity to Black Hawk Down, kind of, mostly in how they start, but also Injury and Climbing the Bottle have a lot of similarities in sonic sound to Rancid 2000. Not production, but the sonic sounds of the songs. And it's really, when you get to comparing the two albums, it's lyrically where they've changed. Like, it's black and white lyrically, because when you're listening to 93, you're hearing stories of a young kid. You're hearing trials and tribulations of like an alcoholic and an addict. You're hearing personal. That's all it is you're hearing their life experiences. As they grow and mature as humans and as men, they start paying attention to other things in the world. They figured their life out a little bit. They've got a band now that's their career, so they don't have to, maybe they're not struggling to eat like they were in 93. So their songs are about the world's problems, not so much their own problems all the time. I mean, Indestructible is a very personal album, but like 2000, there was a lot of political stuff in that album. And so I think the biggest difference to me is twofold. It's the production and then it's the lyrical content. If you changed the production and then maybe mixed up the songs a little bit, you could make either album sound like either album, I think.
Mm. Well, it's the two, I feel like, conscious non-ska albums. Even though there's not really any ska on Let's Go either, but those ones, like, it's like I think it was in Ian Winwood's book where he said they were specifically not wanting to be Operation Ivy, because they knew that's how they would be labeled as, you know,
Right.
half of the guys from Operation Ivy, so they wanted to have their own thing. And I think there was kind of a similar sentiment based on everything that was going around them in 2000 as well. So, but yeah, you're absolutely right, because a lot of these songs are. It's a lot of just it's biography of Tim and his situation at the time, or like you said, like kind of the people they're living around and the situation they're living in. It's a much broader view on 2000.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Very interesting. When you get to the song Out of My Mind, that song shows exactly where they're headed with like Out Come the Wolves, but much earlier on. It's got a very similar tempo, a similar vocal style to how they would go 2 years down the road. So I think the DNA of An Out Come the Wolves was still there on albums like this, because you can hear it, man. It happens so fast, dude. 3 years and you go from this to that. I bet they still wanted to have ska songs. I bet you some of the songs on Out Come the Wolves had already been started being written in this time.
Yeah, it had to be because of the length of proximity, but also like if you reproduce, there's like probably about 4 songs in these that if you just put them into the Out Come the Wolves production like cycle, they would have been perfectly fine. And this is one of them. Sounds like a lot of songs from Let's Go also that start out with that more, not necessarily a cappella, but minimal instrumentation that Tim just kind of starts singing. And it also sounds like, we were talking about Lars and the Bastards before we started recording, it sounds like a song on Viking. I want to say it's the one where it's like where he names all the people from the neighborhood. You know,
okay,
someone slashing tires. It just kind of has that.
Oh, that's a good song, man.
It kind of has that sort of tonal, like it's almost like a song that you could see, like someone outside of a trash can just be singing with like a beat. That's how Out of My Mind kind of has that feel to it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite songs on the album. I used to compare that band Time Again to Rancid a lot, and people didn't agree with me, man. And I think because Time Again had a couple of ska songs, but they were mostly punk. Dude, for anybody that doesn't agree with me, I'd like to have a second opinion from you, man. Go back and listen to Time Again, and then go listen to songs like Whirlwind. Dude, Time Again was absolutely like a Rancid worship band, and I mean that's fine. I liked it.
They were produced by Tim, weren't they?
Tim was on. They were on Hellcat, and Tim was on one of their songs, dude.
Yeah, I thought they were like a side project for a while.
Dude, he even sounded like Tim a little bit vocally. Like he mimicked Tim's sound a lot. And Whirlwind just made me think of Time Again, man. I really enjoyed that band. I know he went through some stuff that he was dealing with. I think he's come out on the other side of things a much better human, so I'm happy for him there. Again, I don't know that for a fact, but that's what I've heard. But yeah, I would love to talk to Daniel Dart one of these days. That'd be cool.
The lyrics in Whirlwind is what really stands out to me, because it's like the first like labor lyrics that they have, and they would have a lot. Every one of their albums has like 3 or 4 like songs about like labor and working conditions and that kind of stuff. And so I don't know if there was one on the EP. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm going to declare this is the first like labor based Rancid song.
Let me look at their EP real quick because it's on here. Let's see. Because they just re-released it, so it's right at the top on Spotify. Okay. I'm Not the Only One, Battering Ram, The Sentence, Media Controller, Idle Hands. No, those all sound like songs off this album. Like if you could easily confuse me and tell me that those songs were on this album, I bet.
Media Controller is the one I always think of from the EP, just because that one kind of stands out with its name.
Dude, their B-sides and C-side stuff is really great too. Like they've got a lot of fantastic material, man.
Yeah, they don't really make bad music. Like even when they cover songs, they just have They're good. They're a good band. I mean, what a breaking
Dude,
news that you and I would talk about this band all the time. They're pretty darn good.
when I asked Colin McFall like how he felt about bands covering his songs, dude, he like literally said Rancid, he likes it when they play their songs. Like, I mean, that's high praise, you know. Let's see here. Trenches. Oh, here we go. Trenches is the first song on the album that I actually didn't really care for. I hadn't listened to this album in a while, so I'd kind of forgotten which songs I did and didn't like. And I actually had a lot of positive, great memories come back to me when I was listening to this. So like, there wasn't much that I didn't care for. It was mostly positive. I don't even really remember this song much, but when I listened to it, I was like, oh yeah, this probably wasn't on my mixtapes when I was young, because there's just too much going on in that song. It changes rhythm, changes like style too much. It
If
doesn't
you
know what it wants to
follow
be.
one of the guitars, it's almost like there's like a Megadeth song going on in the middle of it too. It's very weird the way I know it's like a couple songs that are merged together. It's weird.
Yes, it's a very strange song, but you know, Tim has always been bold with his songwriting. He takes a lot of chances, and it typically pays off. So you know, what am I talking about? But yeah, you know what? So I read that the song Union Blood isn't represented on the back cover of this album, but it is track 15. But there's 16 songs on the album. So they had a secret song on this album, but it was literally before the last track.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me be clear. If you're going to do a secret song, that's the way to do it. I hate secret songs because they usually have like 10 minutes of silence before it plays. No, just put it right before the last song. We don't even know it's coming. It's a little confusing, yes. But I think that's awesome. Because I was like looking at it, I was like, dude, Union Blood. I was like, I don't know what that song is. I don't know that I've ever paid attention to it and realized it was a song that wasn't on the cover.
Yeah, that's
insane.
odd. Yeah, because you would think it would be the hidden track of them, which it kind of is, but it's, you know,
Dude,
hidden in plain sight, kind of.
Do you have this on vinyl?
No.
Let me see if I do. Hold on 1 second, because I want to see this.
Been updated.
Let's see. Hey, how do you feel about that band, The Hives?
Can't stand him.
Oh, really?
I'm such a non-fan of those the bands from like from that period. Yeah, it's just they're just not my thing. I think that was the music in my era people were trying to tell me was punk rock or was the same as the stuff I liked, and that drove me nuts.
You're not wrong about that. I had that conversation literally today. I'll tell you about it in a second.
I'm pretty sure like and it's funny because all those guys love like punk rock, everyone who made that kind of music. It's just, to me, it's like, I don't know, heavy indie or something like that. It's just something a little bit different. That's clearly an offshoot of like the Ramones or that type of thing. And that's what, but it's more, I don't know, feels like it's more caught in a time warp or something. I say that as we talk about a band that, like, you know, tries to affect 70s punk 40 years later. So
hold on. Sorry, I'm almost done. Where the heck? I know I have this record in here.
That track is so hidden that it's hidden from you even.
Dude, for real. What is going on right now? How many copies of Out Come the Wolves do I have? The answer to that question is like 7 on vinyl and then 1 or 2 on CD. I have the Japanese one too. Son of a bitch, it's not on there. Dude.
But it's on. I bet if you put that on your turntable right now, it's on there.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
What in the world? How did I not know that? Dude, all these years, man. This is why I love doing these podcasts, man. I never know what I'm going to learn. Oh, and to excuse me, expand on the Hives thing. I love that band. I don't like most of those the bands. They're the ones that always stuck out to me as being like quality as far as whole albums of good songs, like the Strokes and all that stuff. Those bands I didn't care. The White Stripes. Yes. I don't like most of that stuff from those bands, but the Hives I've always liked. They've come up twice in conversation today, which I think is pretty strange. But
I think Brett helped put them out or something like that too. I think
they were on Burning Heart.
Yeah, they have a punk rock connection there.
Yeah, they're like I consider that band like a power pop garage rock band. Wow, it's not on the back of it's not. Yeah, that's insane. So okay, 8 tracks on here. This is cool, man. Like punk rock history right here, dude. Okay, so we got 1. All right, gonna have to listen to this damn album now because I only count 8 songs on it. Wait, I'm stupid. I'm on the wrong side.
This guy runs a label and a vinyl store, by the way.
I do. Don't tell everybody that though, because oh man, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it's 8 on both sides. I'm gonna have to listen to this later. I wonder if it's because it's on Spotify. I don't have the CD. I only have it on vinyl. I'm gonna have to figure this out though. It's driving me nuts, dude. Like when I saw that, I was like, "What?" Because I had no idea. I wonder if it's on. Yeah, I don't know, man. Anybody that knows what's up with that, let me know. Is it just a CD thing? Because that wouldn't actually surprise me. If they had like a hidden track for the CD, or maybe it was like the Japanese release, and that was the bonus track for Japan or something like that.
Let's see if the old wiki can help us out with the song note with the notes on there.
Oh yeah, is that something that they do?
Well, sometimes they'll kind of have like the stuff that I go on there sometimes when we're doing like an album review and like there's 30 songs on an album on Spotify to see which ones are actually like in the initial release.
Okay, yeah.
Let's see if so. According to Wikipedia, it just says Union Blood not listed on back cover, but it doesn't list it as an extra release or anything. So
it's strange because on the vinyl there's 8 songs on each side, so it must be. Let's look at the length of the song. It's 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Unwritten Rules is 1:45, and then Get On My Way is also 2 minutes. So there's definitely a line in between 7 and 8 on the record. So like there's got to be. That's really weird. Wait a minute. Dude, am I gonna have to feel stupid twice? I think so, because I counted 8 things, but I swear I thought I saw. Okay, so remember when I was looking at it, I said, "Oh, I was looking at side 1." When I flipped it over, I didn't look at the song titles. I just counted them. It's on the vinyl, but not on the jacket. So Union Blood is on the record itself on side B. So now I want to get a CD and look at it and see what it says on it.
Well, a CD don't usually have the songs listed on them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I want to see if it says it anywhere on there. Like, is it in the liner notes or something, or what? That's weird, dude. I feel like that was like an accident, and they're saying it was a hidden track.
Yeah, because why would you put the one after that? That is
right.
That is odd.
Yeah. So if anybody's got any information on where Union Blood's song listing is on the artwork of this album, please let me know. I feel like it was just an accident.
Yeah, could be.
That's a weird thing to have happen, and then to be like, "Oh, that's a."
And for it not to be that big of a piece of lore, even within the fan group, you know what I mean? Like,
right? Because I would have known about that, right?
Yeah, I think so. Although this album does exist kind of on its own plane sometimes, so it wouldn't shock me if there's
both of these albums do.
Stuff we don't know. I came to the conclusion that my copy was stolen, not from me, but like I had a stolen copy of this. What I come to the conclusion of, because like I think I've told you before. I had Rancid self-titled the 2000 is like the first like punk CD I ever owned. And then I don't remember exactly the time, but I got Outcome the Woods shortly after, right before this. But then a friend of mine gave me Life Won't Wait, the CD burned. No. I take that back. It was the CD in the case, and then gave me this one in a random case and told me it was called Let's Go. And I think I believed the person because the first songs it starts out "Let's Go," and then the record gets going. So for like 4 months, I thought I had.
You know what? You've told me that before, that you thought it was Let's Go.
And then like a few months later, I kind of learned the band and all these songs that people were saying were on Let's Go were on this album that I listened to. So, but like you talk about like the albums, I didn't have those. I had this CD. I want to say it was blue with like a gun on the cover or something like that, was like the CD, if I'm remembering that correctly.
With the actual disc?
Yeah.
Dang, what does it look like? It's been a long time since I looked at that. I don't know, man.
So I'm thinking the songs weren't listed on the disc. In terms of that, yeah, we need like an investigative reporter to figure out what. If only we knew someone who interviewed a lot of punk rock people, maybe they could. Find this out.
That guy could probably help us, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I was literally, as you said, we need to find somebody that's an investigator. I was like, that's me. I gotta figure this out. So okay, what are your favorite songs on Rancid 93?
Okay, so Rats in the Hallway. That's that one. I like multiple. I like the acoustic version that they released later. I like this version that's got the Matt Freeman when he does his little verse part with that crazy like bass thing that he comes in with. So big fan of that song. As I said, Animosity has always kind of been my favorite one on this. I also like the little section with Rejected and Injury. To me, Rejected sounds like You Don't Care Nothing that was on Outcome of the Wolves. It has that same sort of tone in the verse.
Yeah.
And they don't really hit that register a lot on this album. Yet more of like a traditional, I think, punk rock register is actually what it is, and they don't really go to that as much in the way that they do it on that song. And then looking Unwritten Rules, I've always kind of liked. I think that's the first. Every album I've talked about it has like a celebration of punk rock or their lifestyle. They have one of those on like every album, and this is the one they have on there. And then it's funny, I have some notes on the last two songs. Like for Union Blood, I do like the song. I just wish it was recorded with Lars. Like to me, that song would have made sense recorded with Lars's vocals in it and make it sound better. And just like Get Out of My Way, that's the one where they're fighting the ska thing, where it's like I really wish they would have kind of leaned into it, because now you're covering a song from a ska band. It's like they wanted to leave hints of it, but they weren't quite ready yet to really become what, you know, the Rancid that we all know with that ska influence. But I would say the middle of the album.
That's a cover song?
Yeah, it's from the Uptones.
No shit.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, I feel stupid right now. I did not know that.
Which again would make more sense for like a cover song to be the hidden track, right? There's a lot of bands that'll do that, where they have like a loose cover song as a hidden track, not, you know, just the last song on the album. Like
that actually makes sense, because that's the one song that doesn't sound like it really fits on the album.
Mm-hmm.
Other than it's the same song, same production style, same guys, but it sounds different. It makes sense that it's a cover song. I didn't know that.
So I think if they would just recorded it in a different album cycle, it would have just sounded a lot different. Unless they recorded it in 2000, then it would sound almost just like this.
Dude, it's so strange that we have like the literal opposite picks. The only one that we even covered that we both like a lot would be Get Out of My Way. But the songs that I like on this album are Hyena. I really like Detroit after listening to it again. Matt's vocals, I think, sounded really, really great on it. Out of My Mind, and then Holiday Sunrise. And then obviously Get Out of My Way is a great closer. Mm-hmm. Rancid's really good at closing albums. They have a lot of great closing songs. They have a lot of great openers too. They're good. They're like you said, they're great songwriters.
Yeah, I'm going through it. Like there's nothing though that I would be embarrassed to show someone. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you have that on a first album where it's like, yeah, the band wasn't there yet, or they didn't have it. Like had they have just been this band forever, I don't think they would have the staying power that they would go on to have. But I think they could have carved out a nice career out of basically a trio like this.
Right. I do too, but I think that the addition of Lars was exactly what was. It was there was no way around that. It was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just, the universe needed those guys to be hanging out. So,
and I've seen people online debating this, like who of the three like vocalists that they have, who's like the most like dispensable. And to me, it's none of them. Like if any one of those three were to say they didn't want to tour anymore, didn't want to do Rancid, to me, Rancid would have to be like, I can't accept a Rancid that wouldn't have a major contribution.
Oh, dude, I can't imagine having a Rancid without any of these guys. And at this point, I can't imagine Rancid without Brandon, because his drum style is so vastly different, and it's improved their sound. In my opinion, there's a lot of Brett Reed purists out there, and I have nothing but good things to say about him. But that last album, I love the drums on that more than I've ever loved the drums on a record before. It's not the greatest of all time. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that when I heard it, I was like, whoa, this is Brandon Steckenard's record, dude. This is where he shines. The production on it was really great too, but his drum playing and the way he did that and the way that they recorded it,
that's his album. I was thinking that album is like that's Brandon's album, is
very much so. But so where does this album, I don't want to say where does it rank in their discography, but like as far as a ranking, how does this one fare at this point in your life?
So I tend to, the two albums we're talking about today are the two, outside of maybe like Troublemaker and Ours All We Know, just because they're of the relative newness, they are the two that I tend to go to the least. And I would say even though I like this album quite a bit more than I like 2000, this is still 93 is still the album I go to the absolute least. And that's not really a statement on the quality of it. It's more of a statement on the quality of everything else that they put out. And I prefer my Rancid with Lars in it. If I were just judging it on its own, though, it's a quality album. It would get, you know, a 7, 8 out of 10 kind of ranking for me. The only thing that hurts it for me is the contrast to the rest of their career. So I have it up there as a definite thumbs up album, again, like 7 or 8 out of 10. And I do think it's essential listening. Like, if you're going to be a Rancid fan, maybe you like or don't like these songs, but you have to, like, every couple of years just give it a listen and sort of absorb it and find new things. I do think with everything I said about it not having been a little bit incomplete because it doesn't have Lars, I do think it is a true Rancid album in that way. It's not an opening album where they don't know what they're doing just yet. They just would get much better.
Right. It definitely feels like, I think their lore would be weird if it didn't have the first album and the EP without Lars, and they didn't go and then get him along the way. They wouldn't have transformed the way they did, and we need that transformation to have this band story.
It also set a certain expectation for their sound. I think that's always kind of been there, because I think this is, even though we like to think of maybe as the Wolves sound, is that this is actually, I think, their bass sound. Like,
yeah.
If you strip everything,
yeah, it was
this
because
is what
they have really fast guitars, 50s guitar licks, dual singing, and they also have very prominent bass playing, like with crazy bass leads all over the place. That is the Rancid sound. Like, the Rancid sound it's more got to do with Matt than it does ska chords, in my opinion. You know, Matt Freeman, dude, if he left Rancid, that's just as devastating as any of the other people leaving.
Well,
like,
he's the most unique thing I think they have in the band. They're all pretty unique, but like no band has a Matt. Like no, I can't think of another band who's like. There probably is another one, but
no band has a Tim Armstrong, man.
That's true. I mean, and we could do, but I mean, in terms of
all these dudes are really
the exceptionality of what Matt does, I think is just like odd. And then like there are other bands I think you could say have Matt's their lead instrumentalist, in my opinion. Like, he's their lead in the way like bands have a lead guitarist. He's that for this band, I think is what I'm running to. And there's not a lot of bands that I think the bass player quite, even like in a band like NoFX, it's like they have 3 lead players with what Mike does on bass and what the other guitarists do. I think Matt is just, he's so much of the soul of that Rancid sound. Again, like imagine like a fill-in with him. Like if they just like say if something unfortunate happened, they brought in a new bass player. Imagine how poorly received that would be, because even anything he did would just be contrasted to what Matt did.
Even I would have a problem with that, and they're like, I don't know that I could support that. I don't think that they would even do it. It's funny because most bands have 1, maybe 2 like integral parts that they can't go anywhere. Rancid literally has like basically all of them. I don't want to be rude to Brandon, but he's the only one that you could probably replace, and it would still be very strange. But none of the 3 guys on the front of the stage could be. It has to be those 3 guys. Like there's no other options. I would grade this record at this point in my life probably at about an 8, 8.2, somewhere around there. Like, I think I like it a little bit more than you do, maybe, but I still feel about the same way. I think I graded it a little higher, but I feel about the same way you do about it. But yeah, man, after all these years, it's funny. I'm still learning things about this record. It's incredible. That's what I like about it, man, is that if you revisit it every couple of years, this is exactly why. I learned. Dude, I can't believe that that's an Undertones song, and I didn't know that. But I'm not a big fan of the Undertones either. I mean, I like them okay. I've heard a bunch of their stuff to a degree, but like, I don't know a lot about the Undertones. I had no idea it was their song.
It's the Uptones.
No, Uptones. Sorry. See, I can't even remember the damn band name. Maybe I don't know that band then. The Undertones, I do know. Hold on, Uptones. What else do they have?
Let's see.
Dude, I'm flabbergasted.
So they're actually a Berkeley-based ska band from the early 80s. So they're a band that's inspired by two-tone. Like they're like an American band that's really influenced by two-tone. Dude, and trying to affect like a two-tone.
Maybe I do know some of their music then. No, I don't think I do. Dude, I don't think I know hardly anything about these guys. What? Yo, bro, that's awesome, man. That's cool, dude. Look, for anybody that's out there, this is one of the things that I do that a lot of people won't do, that people tell me later on in like DMs and stuff that they appreciate. Man, I didn't know that band. I'm not gonna act like I did. Like I didn't know it was a cover song. It is what it is, man. I'm not an authority and I'm not cool. I like what I like, bro. Like, just deal with it. This is why we have everybody come over here and hang out, man. We're a very open arms type of community. That's crazy, bro. the Uptones. I'm gonna listen to them tonight for sure.
It sounds like it's right up your alley of like the stuff you like too.
I'm very excited about this, dude. All right, let's pivot over to the next record real quick. Let's try not to make it last an hour.
Okay. I feel like you and I are dressed to talk about this with our old English writing that we have on our shirts and our black shirts today.
Valid point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On April Fool's 2000, we get Rancid 5, which, I'll be honest, had it been an April Fool's joke, I would have been a little happier. I'm going to start this off like this. So I have historically just gone in on this album. I didn't like it for most of its life. I'll say it like this. I compare it to other Rancid albums, so that's part of the problem. Is that, like we said earlier, I'm comparing this to Rancid and Out Come the Wolves. I'm comparing this to Life Won't Wait, Indestructible, Let's Go, and even Troublemaker. Like I'm comparing this to like my all-time favorite albums. So like, it was not going to stack up unless it was similar in sound and quality, and to me, it's not. It's subjective, but dude, over the last like 2 years, I've listened to this album so much that I was cracking up, dude. I was listening to it today and I knew like every damn song. And I was like, dude, I don't want to know all these songs, man. I don't know if I'll ever be like, yeah, dude, I love this album. But I'll tell you what, it's way more important to me now than it used to be. Not only does it affect my life and have like my own lore with it, but now it's got like this second lore in my life where it's like part of my channel. Because people know I even made a freaking shirt I should have wore that today. But like as a joke, right? If I ever get to talk to Lars or Tim or Matt, I'm going to ask them like, hey, I want to know more about this, because I think that the way that I operate is that when I get information on a certain subject or artist or whatever, it changes how I feel about that almost immediately. So I've always thought if I could just talk to these guys and get some of their information and understand some of the choices made, maybe it would make me like this more or change my opinion. But I'm just going to jump right in, dude. How do I say this? I'm going to say this backwards. I'm going to give you my notes that I wrote at the end of this, and then I'll talk about the songs. How about that?
Okay.
I wrote, this has become a 50-50 album for me. I graded on 4 metrics, like I do most albums that I like, right? Vocal style, lyric writing, production, and then like skill songwriting. Like how did is it just like simple 3-chord songs? And I may love it, but it will never be a 10, right? It's just an album that I really like. All right. I think regardless of how I feel about a song on this album, they're all written well and they're performed well. All right. I'm not saying that they were like not playing well. Okay. Specifically Matt on bass on this album, right? He really shows out on this album. As always, the lyrics, they're top notch. It's the vocals and the production that I don't care for. Even the album artwork is 50-50, dude. Like the front cover, excellent. Back cover, I don't understand those choices, right? It's perplexed me since I've seen it. The first time I saw it, I was like, that doesn't even look like the same people. So 50-50, man. It would be a 5 out of 10 graded on a scale. But I think the songs that I like on this album used to be 2 songs. Then it was like 3 songs. Then it was a 4-song thing. Now I think I like 7, 8, or 9 songs on this album, like a lot, like quite a bit, right? Which is it's aggravating, but it's also funny. But I also don't let it bother me. Like whatever, man, I can change my mind. Like it's okay. Which I think that's why I'll always have content, because I change all the time. My opinion on things change all the time. So I'd probably grade this one at like a 7 out of 10. Now, I mean, I remember like when we first brought this album up, when we first started hanging out and talking, I think I said 1.
Yeah, you explicitly didn't like this album. You kind of had that take, yeah.
So if you're familiar with the channel and my history with the record, then this should probably shock you. But I've really grown to like it a lot, I've grown to like a lot about the record more so than the record itself, I guess. There's more about it that I like than I used to, not like even. It is what it is, dude. I'm okay with it. It doesn't bother me that much. It's my favorite band of all time. And their worst album, quote unquote, their worst album, whatever you might think that is better than most bands' entire catalog. So I just wanted to start with that, because people get so upset with me and then they don't listen. They get mad about me saying I don't like the record, and they just tune me out. And I'm like, well, you're not listening to what I'm saying, man. A, it's a subjective comment. Like, why do you care so much? B, I have literal reasons why I have these issues, and I've always maintained that if they had done a couple things different, this album would probably be excellent, even with the same songs.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, let's talk about the songs a little bit. Let me pull up the list. Did you listen to this album a couple times?
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, I did. And then again, I told you, I am very, so I didn't realize I had a weird taste of this album until I did my Rancid rankings on my channel. And I was like, oh, this finished after everything. And then I started thinking about it. Oh, and it's also the album I rarely go back to. Like in my mind, I always thought of it just like in all the other albums. And as I told you, this was the first like punk rock album I ever owned. So it means a lot to me. And the songs I'm very familiar with. That's why it was nice when I did that yesterday and sat down and really started thinking about some specifics on some of these songs. It's also like there's a lot on this album. There's a lot of songs. So it's even though it's not a very lengthy thing, it's kind of like a deep sit to get through.
It's weird, isn't it? Because there's a lot of songs. They're all short, but there's still a lot of songs. Like,
well, and like they kind of do give full effort because it's what Rancid does. So every song has like interesting stuff, and you need to pay. You kind of always have to pay attention. I guess that's the thing, dude, where they don't make that frivolous punk rock in that way.
I will say this: for all the things that I've ever had a problem with in regards to this album, it is not boring. Okay, like I've never said that. Something I've never really brought up on this channel and talk about this album. This may make people understand my opinion a little bit more. I've said something like sort of this, but I never really explained like kind of like what you said this album is important to you. And I wanted to say, yeah, me too, which is a weird thing to say for somebody that's historically not liked it. Well, my dad bought me Life Won't Wait, and then he promptly died. All right. So it sucked. My dad died in 1999. So my favorite band has always been Rancid. I think I was probably 13 the last time I had a band that wasn't Rancid as my favorite. It was Aerosmith because I was like a little kid, right? So when this album was coming out, I needed it, man. I needed it bad, dude. And so when it came out, I was just disappointed. And I think I took it personally. And for all these years, I'm like, no, dude, screw this because you didn't need to do that. I needed you guys to do something. You didn't do it. Instead, you went and did something that is super fraudulent to me. And I think I took a lot of it really personally, which is what we do with things we love. It's what we do with our favorite bands, favorite artists, favorite whatever, man, or favorite food. You go to your favorite restaurant on like an important day or a day that's even like a bad day, and you're like, you know what? All I want is like my favorite food. And you go there and they serve you something that's not up to their standards, and you're like, what is this shit? And then it becomes like your least favorite restaurant, right? Or like that's got you all the negative memories come out. So the reason that I went so hard on this album is twofold. One, I don't think it's their best album, and the people that say it's their best, it makes me so angry because it's so ridiculous. When you have albums like "And Out Come the Wolves," "Let's Go," and just Life Won't Wait, dude. Like, how in the world can you tell me that this is better than that? You know, other than you like it more or less. That's one thing, but better. That's a definitive word there. So I think all these years, I think I just figured out recently that no, this is an important album to me. It's from a different perspective, you know, from a different point of view, and you know, I think I just held on to that for a lot of years. And I think as I've done this channel, I've approached music listening in a completely different way than I ever have before. I mean, historically, I would be like, oh, I don't like this song. I'm never listening to it again. I can't do that when I'm reviewing albums. So I've listened to songs that I'm like, 2 and 3 and 4 times. And there's bands that I can tell you, I'm not going to say names because I know people in some of these bands that I didn't like much. And then as I got to listen to it more, and you know, some of them are close to me, I guess, kind of in like proximity, but most of them are like bands that I don't get to hang out with these people, so I don't get to know them. So I'm only listening to their music. But like as the time goes, I listen to it more and more and more, and I'm like, dude, I fucking love this now. And I you know, so I think I've just been in the position to listen to this album a lot where I never did because I didn't like it, so I didn't listen to it much. And so when I heard it, it was always like against what I wanted to do. So I was like, no. So I had reasons to not like it, but now I'm like looking for reasons to love it, and it's a completely different listening experience to me. So I don't even have any notes for like the first 6 songs other than It's Quite All Right, Let Me Go, and Poison are all songs that I've grown to like quite a bit. Let Me Go has always been one that I loved. It sounds like Life Won't Wait to
It's
me.
like I have there's like 4 songs on here that I feel like if they were given the Life Won't Wait treatment would be Life Won't Wait. And to me, Let Me Go has always been like a sister song to Blood Clot from Life Won't Wait. It kind of comes in the same part of the album, and it does that. Now we talk about the last album, how there was a song that's like 4 different songs fused together. Let Me Go does that, but it's done in like a good way. And it even has like where you have that slow breakdown part. They're about to do some ska, and then they just kind of don't. It's like they're almost leading you into it, and then they're like, "No, we ain't gonna do that." I will say, like, I've always liked like Don Giovanni and Disgruntled as like these kind of badass songs. They're sort of random openers. I feel like Rancid usually has a lot more intention in their openers, and maybe the intention here is like, "We're gonna punch you in the face on this album. Get used to it." Might have been the intention. Now, at the same time, it's quite all right. That was a staple for years of my front porch punk playlist because it just sort of has that feel of like a, one of those more reflective type of punk songs. And I think there's a lot of songs on this album that if Tim just recut the vocals, we'd have a completely different perspective of both the quality of these songs and like the meaning. There's just a lot of these where it's like one vote. It's like one very raw vocal take. Or the thing that I don't like about it is when you're intentionally trying to be that raw with your stuff and it becomes more of a put on based of what really makes me mad is these guys have so much talent in kind of doing in making ugly punk songs and making them pretty. I think it's a little bit different when they're just trying to make ugly punk songs ugly for the sake of it. It just, other bands can do that. I have higher standards for Rancid when it comes to that.
That's the thing that makes people mad when we talk about this album is that we both agree on that. We both agree that this album was like intentionally poorly made. And it's like, why would you do that? My biggest gripes on the whole album have nothing to do with the songwriting or the lyrics. It's all production, all of it. Vocal performance and production. And those are the 2 most important things to an album for me, because I've always been a vocalist in a band that I was in. And that's the part of the band that I want to hear like melody that I like, and then good vocals. And then I dive into the lyrics. I don't get to the lyrics until I'm like already 2 or 3 listens into an album typically. And so, yeah, man. And look, I wasn't there, so I don't know exactly what happened, but from how I understand things, they were getting a lot of shit from the punk rock community about how they started out with 93 and then Let's Go got a little bit more polished, and then Out Come the Wolves was like this massive hit where I think it actually went platinum, and then Life Won't Wait was this like rock steady filled crazy weird like concept album of sorts, right? And they're like, oh, you guys aren't even punk anymore. And in reality, they're the most punk rock people ever because they're doing what they want and not what they're told to do. But that's always been my issue with this, is I feel like they've caved to that pressure. And instead of writing what I feel like they didn't even put out an album that they wanted to put out. Now, I could be completely wrong. I don't know. I haven't talked to any of them. If I talk to Lars Fredriksson, I guarantee you, just don't even think for a second that I won't bring this album up. I'm absolutely bringing it up because I want to know. I want to know because, like, if I'm wrong about that, that's also going to change how I feel about the album. If I'm just misunderstood things, then okay, I misunderstood them. But I feel like he's secure enough in his just being a man at this point in his life to where if he would be like, yeah, we were getting a lot of pressure and we really wanted to show the world that we still had it. Okay, and he still may love the album. That means that that's what I thought. And that's not what I wanted. I think you swung and missed on that one. People go, no, this is their most punk rock album. I'm like, that's not true. Your most punk rock effort is when you do what you want to because you want to. Now, if I thought that they went and made this album because that's what they wanted to do, again, maybe it would be, I don't know. It changed my opinion a little bit, but I also love this band so dearly, and I have a lot of respect for them. And I feel like it would be kind of cowardly of me to not voice my opinion on a record like this, because I know that there's a chance that they see this. I know that. Specifically Lars, because he's online with stuff. Like, he's online, he's in the chat rooms, he's on Instagram. Tim, maybe not, but Lars, Matt, maybe. Yeah, there's definitely a chance that they can see this. So I'm not saying this with any disrespect. I love those guys. If that's not obvious by just the tattoos on my body, then, if anybody's got a problem with me saying this, then like, I don't care. I don't think that they would. I think they would appreciate my comments. They come from an intellectual place. Like, I'm not just being like, man, like I've never done that. So I don't know. I get defensive already because I know I'm going to get just absolutely shat on in the comments.
Well, because I think you and I are a little bit exceptions in how we feel about this album, because I think most Rancid fans love this album. Like, it's one that I feel like is pretty like in the community.
I think it's not as beloved as you think. I've talked to a lot of people about this record now. I think that the people that love it are very vocal about it.
Maybe
But
that's
there's, I'd say it's probably like 70-30. So it's probably the
Mhm.
majority of people like it a lot, but there's a pretty big chunk of people that are like, I don't get it. Like I've, and I'm not gonna say names of games. I don't want to put people on like that, but I've talked to people like in person that I thought was going to be like, yeah, I love that record, and they were like, no, I don't understand that record at all, and they have very similar opinions that we've got.
Mhm.
So I would love to talk to them so that I can know if maybe we're wrong about it, and then I can explain to my other friends, hey, no, actually, we had this all wrong the whole time. Like, I think that there's nothing wrong with a conversation like that, and we all worry so much, like, oh, I don't want to upset this person. I don't want them to think that. Like, I don't care, man. Like, I'm not worried about Lars, Tim, and Matt disliking me. They have no reason to not like me. I've put that band on a pedestal for 2.5 decades, man. It's like not going to change, you know. Like, but anyways, I can rant for 2 hours on this exact part of this topic. But if you get to songs like Loki, that's a good example of my issues with the album. Lars' voice just about cracks on that song because he's screaming so hard. If he had done his typical vocal style, like his, well, you know, like, he's got two kinds. He's got like the scream kind, but he also has like the sing kind. But if he'd done like his typical scream vocal, that song would be great, man. And I've said 100 times that if they would just re-record this album, I bet I would like it a lot.
Well,
I mean,
and
I've already gone to where I like half of it at this point. Like I'm just at this point just arguing to argue. But
what you're saying about Lars and his contribution is my specific, other than like the stuff about the, you know, how what the pressures and stuff. My specific criticism of it is the use of Lars on this album. He's
okay,
on like, I feel like only 5 songs. They're all at almost the same exact register of him just like, you know, doing that, what he's doing on this song, that like blown out screaming, and it takes away all the dynamics of what it is to have Lars in the band. I think like you could have got a lot of guys who can kind of scream and do, you know, you could have had a lot of guys do that
right,
role. You're
right,
missing those. That's what's not on this album is those great Lars songs, or that, you know, like that, like you were saying, like his vocal side, it's like a crooning Lemmy kind of thing, like this like clean Lemmy that he does.
yes,
And he doesn't do that on hell. Lemmy sounds cleaner when he sings, when he's doing it. And it just, it is in those songs where the vocals are, I don't know if they're clipping or if they're literally blown out the way his voice is. It's just, it's odd because
no,
I've seen some of these songs live and they don't sound like this either. It's weird.
well, that's the thing is I need to go back and listen to some of this live. I need to go see if I can find it. But so I wrote down. I'm gonna back up here in a minute too.
Mhm.
But the I wrote down on here, not really a fan of the song Axiom, but Matt goes absolutely nuts on that song. But the way that Lars does his vocals in that song, it's how I wish he had done it for the entire album. The problems I have with this record are actually only issues that could be fixed and wouldn't normally show up on a Rancid album, which is why I have the issues with them. But Axiom is a great example from this record of a way that they done. And now I don't know what they were thinking when they did this. And also, they're allowed to go and do whatever they want. Like if he wants to go there and blow his throat out singing these songs, and he wants to keep it like that, and he wants to tell me that he loves it and he thinks it's awesome, I'm not going to argue with that. Like that's whatever. But there's evidence that they could have done it different, like within the record. And I feel like it feels like they were at odds with each other on this album, like as a group, not just like it just feels angsty. It feels, and I could be misunderstanding it, but it
There's
feels
some rumors to that, but I can, again, I always have this piece of information in my head that I read years ago and can never, I can find some connections to it, but not that. Again, Life Won't Wait in 2000, Tim had fallen off the wagon and was
okay.
more isolated from the band and wrote a lot of these albums kind of as his vision and his like soul vision that he brought to the band. That's always been kind of around. That's why these albums have their sort of extreme zones, because it's sort of one person's vision and how they were going, and the rest of the band kind of filled in what they would do. That wouldn't that would surprise me a little bit with Life Won't Wait, but it wouldn't shock me with this album because again, it feels like Lars is almost like stuffed out of this. It's weird how like Lars is kind of their mascot in almost every other context for everything else they do. And for here, you would think he kind of he's just their second singer instead of, like, I think of them as a co-lead singer band,
Right.
and I think on this album he's the second singer. And
It's
weird.
it's so strange. And I genuinely, man, like I actually look forward to like reaching out to him one day and seeing if I could talk to him, because I want to know more about this, because at this point I used to have like venomous feelings about this album. I don't anymore. It's kind of important to me because now it's part of like, it's kind of like when I go eat my dinner. I used to hate green beans, but now I look forward to them. even though they're not my favorite food, I don't really pick them out often. But when I get a steak with some potatoes, I'm always like, I kind of want some green beans with it too. Like I don't really eat that very often, but it goes really well with this particular meal. Well, this album goes really well with this particular life. So whatever, right? It is a conversation though. I want to talk to him and ask him like, hey, what's going on? Because it's just so strange. Like you said, it feels like it was an afterthought that he was even on the record almost.
I have in my notes, like if you ever make like a playlist with just the Lars songs though on this album, I think it's like a decent like speed punk album. But again, it's not necessarily what I look for with Rancid. It's kind of its own thing. I've said before that I thought a lot of this was similar to the Bastard sessions, and I think in parts
That's
of it
what
is.
I was going to say.
And I think that's kind of this time period too felt like until Indestructible, they did kind of feel like one of those bands that was focused so much on side projects because every single one of them had like an album out in between this cycle.
Right.
I wonder how that plays into everything that we're talking about.
And maybe that's
too.
maybe that's leading to the rumors of their having like some kind of internal struggle. I don't actually know if they were having problems within the band or not. I don't know at all. It just feels like they were, and maybe.
And this is also during their media blackout too, when they didn't talk to anyone. So everything we're saying is very much conjecture.
It's all speculative.
Ended up on message boards, people who knew someone who knew. Yeah, so it's gonna. And what I always respect about Rancid is even in the media age, they figured out like let's be mysterious. Right. Let's let them want some more. And I've always really like right now, Rancid is probably the most accessible they've ever been because everyone is kind of accessible, and it's hard to keep that up. But I think that was a really like smart thing. Like that to me, Rancid always had that little bit of mystique to them that all my other punk bands didn't have.
Yeah. And look, I don't mean to bag on the record. Like I said earlier, I gave this a 7 out of 10 now. Like I think it's very much grown on me, and I just have a lot of questions I'd like to ask members of the band. I don't know about Tim falling off the wagon. I've never really heard that except from you, and so I have no idea if that's true or not. That kind of tracks based on just listening to this, and it would make me sad to find out that was true. But people stumble sometimes, man, and I wasn't there, so I don't know. But yeah, Black Hawk Down isn't a song that I think is necessarily terrible. I just kind of find it kind of repetitive, but it's a popular song within the album. Yeah, it is easy to sing along with.
It's fun. It's not, but like Black Hawk Down and Low Key, I kind of have that as like fun songs. But like if I never heard them, I'd be okay. Also, like they're fine.
Rwanda has become a song that I like quite a bit.
I've flipped on Rwanda over the years.
The guitar riff is really good. Really grown on me a lot.
When I was younger, I thought it was really cool with the way the chorus was and the little like the little sample they use it and stuff like that. It's because I was more unfamiliar with Rancid though, and the kind of things that they did. And now, as I've gone on, I find the chorus a little boring because like they're capable of so much more. But I actually like the contrast of Tim. I like Tim's sort of very unfiltered, untuned vocals in this song because I think it contrasts really well with that simple kind of catchy chorus that they have.
It's funny because I wrote down multiple times in my notes, I suspect before it's all said and done, I will love this album. LOL. I think that's coming, man. Like I'm already kind of there. I got like what's that called, man? Like I said earlier, green bean love.
Green bean love.
Corruption has similar issues for me that I have with Loki. But it's with all three of the singers. They all three like blow their vocals out on that song, and I'm just like, dude, why? Like,
it's hard to distinguish who's who. You could tell they're different people, but like those three guys have pretty distinctive voices. All three of them sound fairly similar on that song.
It's weird, man. And then I get to Antennas, a song that that's grown on me a lot. You know how he has that part where he like rings out, he plays a chord and it rings out a little bit. On Antennas, it's always sounded like that was sped up to me. Because he usually lets them ring out for a beat or two, but this is like instead of like it's like I don't know. It sounds sped up. It doesn't make it good or bad. I just wanted to say that it's weird. Like every other song, it's like, oh, I don't like this one that much. Oh, I love this song. I don't really care for this.
So you're saying you don't like Rattlesnake?
Okay, so this is what I wrote down. Rattlesnake is one that I don't really like the execution of the verses, but I love the lyrics and the chorus. Also, I feel like this song proves my thoughts on how this album kind of came about. But the song ends really, really strong as well, though. Like Rattlesnake's one that's like the lyrics. I love that. Love the lyrics. I like Rattlesnake. I've come to really like that song a lot. But if you listen to the lyrics on that, man, that kind of makes me wonder if what we're saying about them having problems and then their problems with the community are true, because they kind of talk about that in that
It does
song.
seem to be about the music industry. Yeah. But then,
Right.
like, who was it? It's weird. Like, who would it have been referring to at this time? Because they seem so insulated and secure, kind of like in some ways, and though all we've talked about is how insecure they kind of came across with this album. But I can understand lyrically that being content for Outcome the Wolves. That's the whole idea of the Outcome the Wolves. It's sort of on that theme. And I just want that's a good question. Who the hell is that song about? Or is it about each other? I mean, is it,
Dude, for real?
could be. I love that combo though. That's always been my favorite combo on this album is the Antennas and Rattlesnake. And like Rattlesnake's one too, like the pool of nostalgia for that song will never get me to judge it like correctly or objectively. You know what I mean? It's just a song that I absolutely adore. Antennas too. I've always loved Antennas. And Antennas has a little bit of a different feel at parts of it too. That sounds a little more like a Let's Go song, I think.
Antennas feels like Life Won't Wait to me as well. I'm writing down some stuff that if I ever get to talk to him, I'm going to ask him who Rattlesnake is about, because that's a good question, man. Like, I would love to know, because that'll lead us right into, like, tell me more about this album. You watch, dude. This album's becoming, like, way too important to this channel. Like, I've talked about it, like, 5 times.
I used to think they wrote it about my stepdad, but I don't think that was true.
Not to regret. I wrote down, listen to Tim's vocals on this song. They sound like he had a terrible cold or something. Dude, it's awful, dude. It sounds like, again, we're putting this up against other Rancid stuff, not
sounds like a
Jonas
demo.
Brothers.
It sounds like a demo. Is what it sounds like. He's filling in the lyrics to figure it out, and that's exactly what I have written down. Would be more interesting again with a cleaner vocal take, because I love like some of the where it talks about like a modern day Sodom and Gomorrah, and everybody says, some people say I'm fucking crazy, but that don't. I think he's trying to affect almost like this insane kind of feeling to it, and it comes a little try hard.
Yeah, but I guarantee you there's other versions of these songs floating around, because Life Won't Wait, there's a whole nother version of that album out there. And then we get to Radio Havana right after that. It's a song that I've liked since day one on this album. One of the couple that I liked from day one, it's been Radio Havana and Let Me Go were the two that I really, really liked off this album. It's just grown from there.
Another Life Won't Wait kind of sounded song.
Very much, yeah. I'm not a fan of Axiom, but Matt goes absolutely nuts. We talked about that earlier.
It's a little bit of a nod to Maxwell Murder in Axiom. I think that's kind of what he was going for, was that it's not exactly, with the bass. It doesn't fully go into the solo, but I think if you've never heard Maxwell Murder and you would have heard that, like that might be look at like this crazy bass player for Rancid that does all this stuff. It's not as good as Maxwell Murder, but you can kind of see the hint of it there.
I want to reiterate Lars's vocals on this song. That's what I was looking for on this whole album. Like, that's the one thing about the song that I really enjoyed. Black Derby Jacket is an excellent storytelling song, and I like it a lot now. It feels kind of like it came off 93.
It's my favorite Matt vocal song of all time, like by far.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Dude, I love the story. Dude,
and I'll always swear it was a sequel to Ruby Soho. I heard that. I think someone
you were the
made
one
that
that
up,
told me that.
But it kind of fits lyrically,
Dude, like it's crazy, man. Like, even on an album that I was not a fan of, like, there's so many positive points that I can make about it. Their storytelling abilities have always been top notch. Meteor of War, not really my jam, but I bet it was a good song to see live. I bet that song is awesome live.
Yeah.
Great for Circle Pits, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing about an album like this. If I had seen this album played in its entirety live, I probably feel quite a bit different about it. But, it is what it is, man. Dead Bodies Everywhere. It's a very popular song, but I just don't care for the vocals on it.
I love I really like Dead Bodies. And part of that is they played it the first time I ever saw them live. Like, that was their 2000 song that they played. That was their mosh pit song, was Dead Bodies. I also love Matt's bass playing on Dead Bodies. I like the way it's got that the foreboding tone that I think his bass playing sets on that song. I've always really liked that.
Yeah, it's I wrote down I would love to hear this entire album re-recorded from them and see what choices they'd make now with the same songs, but just re-record it. And maybe I'd be the same, maybe it'd be the same exact album,
but make it heavier.
But I don't think it would be. I think this is one of the songs that I'd really like it, and I think they would make it a lot better now. Rigged on a Fix, it's a random one that I like. The verse is really good, but not so much the chorus. That's very odd for me. I usually like Rancid's choruses a lot. The guitar riff on the chorus just doesn't really do it for me. Again, Matt goes nuts on this album. I wrote down, I love Matt Freeman. Like, in all caps.
It reminds me a lot of like those later, like in the teens when you get on Let's Go. There's some of those songs there that are a little that feel a little more like experimental or different.
Yeah.
On the back half of Let's Go. It reminds me of one of those.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of variance, and dude, it's so strange listening to this so many times over the last couple of years.
I
There's,
wonder. Oh, go ahead.
I was saying after just all these years of just not really giving it any attention, and like I've listened to this album probably 30 times in the last 2 years, man. Like a lot. And it's just so strange how much I've grown to appreciate it. And now the problems I have with it, I'm like, I want to know so that I can go, oh, I guess I like it now because I know this. Whereas I used to wanted to know because I wanted to be proved right. I don't think I care about that anymore. I just want to know so that I can know. I just want to know. I'm curious, and I love this band so much, dude.
I really want to know your opinion on Young Al Capone, because to me, if there's any song that would fit your style of like not necessarily what this album is, to me, that's right in your wheelhouse of that like punk and roll kind of stuff that you like.
I don't really care about that song.
No,
No, man, it's still, dude.
I don't. I just thought you would, because I assumed you kind of liked that kind of that. Like to me, that's like Lars trying to do Elvis almost in that song.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on.
It's got like a '50s kind of vibe to it. Would you really listen to it?
I need to go back and listen to that one again, but I don't. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's the production on this album. I don't like hate the song, but you know, there's so many songs I really listen to from Rancid than that one. I like see this era. I was really happy that they did the Bastard stuff because it really helped me cope with the fact that I didn't love this album so much.
That was basically your Rancid album at the time.
It really was. It really was. But I've grown to love this so much that I'm like, it makes me happy because now I'm going to make a ridiculous like playlist. I don't know. It's kind of a dumb thing to do. It'll just be the entire album of everything they've done. But I mean, how many songs do you think wouldn't make the cut if I made a Rancid playlist? I mean, it would be very few. Very few. They would almost all be from this album. But like even then, it would still be very few songs. Like if in totality for their entire discography, it would be like what 1% or something like that. I mean, it would be so low.
Yeah, when you actually, because again, they don't put out that much crap. They're just stuff that you have a little bit different taste in, maybe, or something. But it's
dude, even on songs like "Not to Regret," I'm over here going like, listen to his vocals, but I'd still listen to it. Like, you know, dude. Here's the thing: they close this album with "Golden Gate Fields." It's such a great closer for an album like this because even though I've historically not liked this record at all as a whole, you know what I'm saying? The song's great and it really ends the album on a high note. And it's something that Rancid does really well, as I said earlier, but it makes you want to listen to the entire album again. Even though I know I'm like, yeah, but I don't like a bunch of it. And here's the thing. When I say I don't like something, that means that I actively dislike it. I don't know how to say it different. I just say it like that. That doesn't mean that I hate it. It just means I don't like it. It means I'm not into it. Me saying like I don't like this song just doesn't mean like I hate that song. Those are two different things to me. But I think a lot of people correlate those things as the same, and that's not what I mean. So, you know, it's gotten me in trouble in the past. Me saying like I don't like that. I'm like, oh, why do you hate this? I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't say I hated it. You said you didn't like it. I'm like, yeah, I don't like it. I don't like green beans, but I don't hate them. I eat them.
I think GGF or Golden Gate Fields. It's weird. It's always been one of my favorites for a few reasons. One, it's the only real, like, to me, and I've had this debate with people, even though there's a lot of darkness in Rancid's music, ultimately I think of them as like an uplifting band. Like when I think of what I like about Rancid, it's like they're kind of like an inspirational band. They have a lot of like, you know, dust yourself off. We're going to do this. We're going to get this done. And this album is not as much of that. And I think Golden Gate Fields kind of has that, even with the lyric, you know, when the field's wide open, I'll pick the horse that's got the biggest heart. To me, that's a Rancid lyric. That's what I listen to Rancid for. And there's a little bit of storytelling. And it's a clear outro, so much so that they say goodbye in the song, which is kind of cool because there's not a clear intro on this album the way there is. So I like that there's that clear outro. I also like the little anecdote he tells about his friend Big L and all that, and just the way that whole scene. To me, that's the
Big
one
L
time
gets
on this
talked about
album.
a lot.
Yeah, where and when I was a kid, I thought it was Miguel. But no, it's Big L. That's the one song, though, I think that very much feels like it could be on a lot of different Rancid albums. There's a lot of this that I think if it was recorded different, but I think as is, Golden Gate Fields could be on almost any one of their albums, and it would fit perfectly.
Yeah, I mean it's a great closer. I don't know, man. I think that as much crap as I'm going to get from people, if they just listen to all I have to say, they'll understand how much I love this band and how much this album has actually changed from my perspective over the past couple of years. I mean, the fact that I'm saying 7 out of 10, maybe a little bit better than that, even is kind of crazy. How do you grade this album?
I'd go probably. I
you
would
would
probably
give
go,
this higher than a 93.
That's what I'm trying to debate. So
that's crazy to me.
I think the songs are better on 93. Just straight up. I would rather listen to this though, for whatever that means.
That is strange.
And I don't know if it's because of, even though the production's kind of odd, it's still a little more modern. I don't know what it is, but I do kind of, I prefer them doing what they did on 93 than doing this. But I think like if I were to really, I would still stick it in that 8 range though, because there's still things about it that it's a limit. Like 93 is limited, but there's nothing they can do about the limitations of a guy not being in the band yet, or it being their first album. This one I think is a little more intentionally limited, so it makes me just downgrade it a little bit more. And let's see the songs. So I'm with you. Okay, lyrically, I think the lyrics are really good on here, but it's not as much of the classic Rancid lyricism that I think is as much on the other. There's much more of that in 93. So I would give it the same score that I gave 93, but it would get an overall lower grade if you actually like read the comments.
Okay. Yeah, I think that this has higher highs, but it's an overall lower average.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think the hit rate is much higher on 93. Absolutely.
No, I think this 2000 has the higher highs though. Like the best songs on 2000, I think, are far superior than anything on 93. But there's only like 2 or 3 of them. And then everything on 93 is pretty good, except 1 or 2 songs.
I think 93 is a lot more consistent. Yeah.
That's the right way to put it. This has higher highs. That one's more consistent. The only reason that I do understand wanting to listen to this more than 93, though, solely based on the fact that I had more time with 93, so I've listened to it way more. If you think about it, even for the past 25 years, I never really was a big fan of this album, so I didn't listen to it often. Every now and then I did, but not often. I listened to 93 a lot. That album has been in rotation for me since I got a hold of it back in probably like 96 or 7. So, I do think they're very comparable albums. There's a lot of things you can look at and point to and be like, oh man, if you had Lars back then, you'd have this album already. Like it's interesting, man. 2 albums that are historically incredibly important. 2 albums that are personally, I would say at this point in my life, very important to me, both of them. Whether you like my comments on them or not is kind of irrelevant, I guess.
They're unquestionably both classics. Like if we say that, like these are classic albums of that band's discography and important parts of the story of that band.
100%. There's a lot of people that like this stuff more than like anything else they've done. Whether I agree with that or not, also irrelevant. It's just, they're popular.
Good thing they have 30 years of music that we can take from, the parts that we all like.
That's kind of the thing about this band and these 2 albums specifically is like, dude, you can talk about whatever you want. Man, you're putting us up against some of the greatest albums of all time. How could they be that consistent to where they have nothing but those albums? That's impossible. Every band out there has albums that you're like, I mean, dude, listen to bands like Metallica, right? They have 4 of the greatest albums of all time, a 5th that's close, and then they have a bunch of stuff that everybody can't agree on.
Yeah, there's no Saint Anger in the Rancid. Like to me, 2000 is the closest they came to Saint Anger, and contrasting that to like what Saint Anger is in Metallica's discography to what Rancid 2000 is, it's not comparable.
Dude, the craziest part is that there's like this like retroactive like Saint Anger love out there, man. I've sold a lot of copies of that. Isn't that weird?
So I have an affection for the album, but I think it sucks. Like I love everything. I love the artwork. I love the DVD. I like the live performance of the songs. They sound much better. I don't love the lyrics. I wish they would have just written more lyrics. Like it's like they start. The whole thing about that album is it's kind of similar to 2000. What I was saying, where it sounds like a demo that just got recorded for mass production. That's what that. Except for it took like 3 years to make it $1 bazillion.
Dude, such a strange record. But yeah, man. Love me some Rancid, dude. I had a lot of fun listening to this and talking about it. Wish I could remember what it was I was going to ask you to do on the next episode, man. But I think I'll just come up with another. Would you be willing to listen to some stuff probably outside your wheelhouse, things you haven't heard much of, but they're really I know you'll like it.
That'd be a fun concept, I think, for a show. You just
let's do
call out what it is. And
let's do some Houston stuff, man. I want you to listen to. How about this? I'm gonna choose an album, and then you choose an album that you really like that maybe I don't know much about.
Okay.
Because I think we have a lot of differences in our core stuff. It just overlaps in some of the really important places, but I think on our actual music collections, they're probably fairly different.
Mhm.
I'm gonna give you. Let me make sure it's on Spotify before I tell you this one because I don't want you to have to deal with something that's not there. Let's see. Okay, yeah. 30-Foot Fall. It's an album called Acme 143. And they're like the Houston version of No Use for a Name, No FX. Like it's in that vein. It's not quite the same. I love his vocals, and that album is if you like that one, then it just gets better and better from there. But like that's one of their like low key, like really, really good records. We can talk about that one, and then if you have something that you maybe just want to listen to, it could be Fat, Epitaph. I don't care. It can be anything, dude.
Let's we're headed up on an anniversary, so let's do Dear You.
Wait, who's that?
Jawbreaker.
Oh my goodness!
So I know you're not a Jawbreaker guy.
I am not a Jawbreaker guy.
We're on a
All
30,
right.
we're on a 30 year for Dear You, and there's a lot of tentacles to that.
So
See, that's mean. You gave me something you know that I will like, and then I assigned you something I know you specifically don't like. That
it's okay though. I like that. That gives me an opportunity to change my mind. I've grown a lot in the past few years, specifically because of this channel, and I think that I've become more flexible and I'm more open to change than I was before. But yeah, it was a fun talk, man. Went a little long. Yeah. Sorry it took so long to get on there tonight, man. I just had a kind of a crazy day.
Sorry, I filled exactly the amount of time I needed it to fill. So
hell yeah, dude. Well, everybody, you guys know what to do. Tell us how much I suck in the comments about my opinions, and give me the thumbs down if you need to. That's fine. As a matter of fact, if you can do it twice from 2 different accounts, go for it.
Make sure you comment and tell them how wrong it is. Keep commenting over and over again.
Dude, speaking of comments, I needed to tell you this, and I'm glad I remembered to do it. So this guy says, in reference to Pennywise versus Pennywise, by the way, as a diehard, no, wait. Oh, yeah. That's what it was. It was on that video. He says, as a diehard skateboarder, I've always disagreed with the term skate punk. Seems like most of the bands aren't skating and most of the skaters aren't listening to this sound. Just me being critical, though. Sorry. And this is the Heavyweight Holt. So Heavyweight Holt. Stop it, bro. You've got to be like 17, man. Or like 25. Like, here's the thing about skate punk being a thing. When the term skate punk came around, all the skateboarders were listening to punk. And almost every punk rocker I've ever met in my life, I say, how did you get into punk? And they tell me through skateboarding. Mm-hmm. So yes, skate punk is a thing, very real, and it is a particular sound. If you go back and watch all the skate videos from the early 90s, I won't say all of it, but most of it had bands.
That's why it's got its name.
Correct. Like Pennywise, Bad Religion, No Effects, all that music, the Descendants even, like Black Flag, Circle Jerks, all that shit was like so heavily incorporated into skate videos that it literally became skate punk. Like it just is what it is. Like you can not like it all you want, but it is a thing. Now, if you're talking about today's kids and today's skaters and today's bands, you're probably right. But that wasn't where it came from, and that the sound is from a different era. So that sound is from the 90s.
Yeah, and I think skate culture has expanded actually to kind of to include a lot of different types of people now versus the sort of monoculture that it was. And it's actually, I mean, if you want to be that nitpicky, then we could call it surf punk because that's what it actually started as, is like them putting the
except that there's already surf rock, so you can't call it surf punk. You want it to sound like the freaking Ventures or the Beach Boys.
But the whole idea was they put the Pennywise and all those bands in the Kelly Slater videos. And so Kelly Slater, punk rock fan, Tony Hawk, major punk rock fan.
Dude,
so they made their soundtracks basically to their content, and that got spread all over the world. And then a few years later, you have the stuff blows up, and then the video game franchise that's most associated with punk rock is the Tony Hawk, which doesn't make you which doesn't make you a skater, but like sort of shows you the idea of where the culture is being connected. I've had that conversation with a few other people who just are in a more modern context, where like they don't automatically associate punk rock and skating in that same. And to me, I think of going to the Warped Tour and there being a half pipe, right? Like I always
dude, that's kind of my thing. Is like all the way up until like maybe 2010, skating and punk rock were like, they were like linked like this. You couldn't separate them because it wasn't how it was. It was, they were together. They still kind of are, dude. Like
I've always felt like
comment just blows my mind. It just shows me that you have a level of ignorance, and I don't mean that like in a disrespectful way. Like you just don't know. That's why I think this person's got to be kind of young, because if you're young, you would maybe think like this. But if you're 40, there's no way you think like this, because every punker I've ever met in my lifetime has been skating it to some degree. Like, I mean, that's just so wild to me that skaters don't listen to punk and punk bands aren't skaters. Like, what are you talking about, dude?
When he was alive, Tony Sly said that their music was big in every culture that had skateboarding and surfing. And because of the things, so all over, like you go to Japan where those things are prominent, and what we call skate punk is very big over there. And
right.
You know, Australia, all these places with lots of concrete and lots of water. California, basically every place that has that setup.
And that's the thing, is that this music was invented by people that lived on the coasts. They lived on the coast, and that's what they did, was they skateboarded and they surfed. So like, I mean, it quite literally, like in its DNA is skate punk. Like Pennywise, bro, what are you talking about? Have you seen a single one of their pictures, videos, or anything? Listen to their words, dude. That's not skate punk to you? Like, what is it? Like, now there's even bands that like their whole identity is skateboarding. Like, there's Shred the Deck out of Houston, dude. Listen to that name, Shred the Deck. Are you serious? That's not, no, that's definitely, you know, pop rock. Like, what are we talking about?
And then like even like you have Teenage Bottle Rocket, the next evolution. I was
gonna say Skater
Dies. Is like that's what we're doing. Like that's not even like, I don't think like Pennywise necessarily said we're gonna make skate punk. It kind of got affixed to them. But Teenage Bottle Rocket was like, we're gonna do skate punk and Ramones core. Like that's gonna be our style.
Well, Pennywise, that's the thing, is that they're from that world. They're from that. That's in their DNA, dude. Hermosa Beach, dude. What are you talking about? Dude, this kind of stuff blows me away, man. It just shows me like, that we're older. Things have changed. Okay, I can admit that, but it shows me a level of ignorance. Like, this must be how people feel whenever I go, yeah, I don't like the Damned. I don't get it. Right? That they must feel exactly like how I feel reading this comment. Let me be very clear. I have completely flip-flopped on that band, and I saw them live, and it changed everything about how I feel about them. I don't like, they're not my favorite band, but I genuinely have a love for them that I didn't have 18 months ago. So, but yeah, I feel like that's probably how I can equate those two things. Like, oh, this must be how those guys feel when I say this kind of ridiculous shit that I say on my channel. You know, people get mad at me all the time and say things. I'm like, bro, did you not think that I know you're going to say these things? Of course I do. Calm down, bruh. All right, brother, man. See you in a couple of weeks, man. Have a good time at school. If you need something, let me know. Everybody, hey, real quick. What's up with your channel? Are you doing anything with it at all?
Not currently. It's just kind of
dormant, just kind of chilling,
sitting there. Yeah.
I mean, it's still up, right?
It's not. Yeah, it's not dead. And I have video ideas kind of all the time. It just, in the last 2 years, the only thing music wise I've had the time to really put into it is my shows with you. So I would like to get back to it. I think once I ever get into the routine of doing one, then they will start snowballing again. But I just haven't had that, or haven't committed to that time, I should say. Maybe I've had it, but I haven't made that commitment. I
was just curious. I mean, it's probably nice to know you have like an outlet where you can at least do something and keep yourself kind of like you're visible. You're still visible on my channel, and like you're still doing it to a degree. So like if you ever pop back up on your channel, it wouldn't.
Well, and that's why I don't stress about it as much, because like if people want to hear my takes on, like I you know, they can listen to me here, and then like I said, eventually I want to, but I'm still debating what format I want to do. Like the live, like when I was doing it last, the live stream format was really working, but I still wasn't making a lot of videos, and I didn't love the quality of basically like a taped live stream. So that's part of my issue with it.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's kind of my baby. So like I have a certain quality standard that maybe doesn't come across to the viewer, but there's a certain like amount of research and stuff like that I want to do for every video. And if I can't do that, then I don't think it's necessarily worth making.
Bro, so somebody asked me the other day, like, how come you haven't done another video essay yet? Because I'm working on the female one, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, dude, I don't half-ass my videos. So like, if I can't get it the way I want it, I just don't do it. I'll just I'll keep working on it. I'll just take longer. but I'll get it out. But like, it's not going to be every month. I can't do a video like that. I wish I could. I simply don't. I have too many things that are going really well that it doesn't make sense for me to put them on the back burner and do those things, which always take more time, never making the same kind of money. Like, and then unfortunately, it does have to do with the money. Like I at this point, I have to think about that. I had a guy up put a comment the other day. It was like, actually, it was on a Pennywise video. Oh man, you should put the songs on here and quit worrying about copyright, man. It should be about the music, not about the money. And I'm like, bro, you have no idea what I put into this channel, I guess. Like, I deserve way more money than I've ever gotten out of this channel. I don't care, whatever. I'm still going to do it. But like, let's not talk about that because I'll just block you if you're that dumb. Like, what are we talking about, man?
It's also on YouTube where you can pause, open a new tab, hear the song he's referencing, and go back.
You know, I almost mentioned that once, like, hey, we should tell people to do that. And I just thought it'd be a little more work than it was worth. But yeah, I do know people that do that. Like, I know people that watch my videos and do that. Like, they tell me, like, oh yeah, I learned a lot of stuff just listening to you. I'll pause it and go, like you just said, I'll pause it, open a tab, and listen to the song. Like, oh dang, write it up, put it on a list, whatever. And so I know people that do that. But it's just such a weird complaint, man. Like, have you never heard Bro Him? Like, what? What are we talking about?
Or watched anyone who's successful on YouTube who does music, and there's very rarely any bits of music in their content. Like, even more so if you do it for a full-time living, you know.
Well, that's why I do the live streams so people can like throw a super chat down. We can listen to music all night. Like, yeah, it does suck that I have to ask for super chats. One day I will be where I have some sponsorships, I think, but it's going to be a little while still. And once that happens, it won't matter anymore. But I have to get to that point first. And the only way I can do that is if I can put the time in to do this. And the only way I can do that is if I'm making some money doing it. Like, it's just, you know, you'd have to be my age to understand this stuff. If you're 20 years old, you're not going to get it. So, but I love you anyways. If you're 20, doesn't matter. Just stop being a turd. Or don't. I don't really care, man. Engagement's valuable, I guess. We'll see you next time with Punk Rock Review.